السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على حي على الفلاح حي على الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
الحمد لله رب العالمين، الحمد لله ذي الملك والملكوت ذي العزة والجبروت، الحمد لله حي قيوم لا ينام، عزيز لا يضام، قهار لا يرام، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. يقول الباري سبحانه وتعالى بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. We who believe fear Allah as He should be feared and die not except on the state of Islam. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestow upon us the gift to die on the state of Islam. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save and help and support our people in Gaza. اللهم انصرهم بنصرك يا أرحم الراحمين وأغثهم واحفظهم بحفظك. أما بعد. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says toward the beginning of Surah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, describing the followers of the truth, those who follow the truth and what has been revealed to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and those who follow the falsehood and everything that is not revealed by Allah, away and off the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-batil. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describing the fact when they come to, confrontation, and the believer and the disbeliever, they will be in a fight. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us, قال بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ولو يشاء الله لانتصر منهم ولكن ليبلو بعضكم ببعض. Had Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala willed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if He had willed, He would inflicted on them punishment and retribution and revenge without even a fight, without even to have a battle. For here in this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us what is happening is only happening by the decree of Allah and the wish of Allah and the ayat and the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us the wisdom, told us the قال ولو يشاء الله لانتصر منهم ولكن ليبلو بعضكم ببعض, to try you, to test you through the means of others, to see you, to test you, to try you, to educate you, to form you, to cleanse you, to prepare you, to correct you. And this is subhanallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wisdom. And the absolute wisdom is impossible for any one of us to comprehend it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala لا يحيطون به علما. However, it is very important that to know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for past generation, He inflicted His punishment. For the people of Fir'aun, He drowned them. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the sayha, the blast. Look what He did, the wind for the people of Ad, and so on. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you recite, you see how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, منهم من أرسلنا عليهم حاصبا ومنهم من أخذته الصيحة ومنهم من خسفنا به. People they been taken by blast. People they been being subhanallah rained with the clay, from coming from hellfire, وَالْعِيَذُ بِاللَّهِ, like the case of the people of Lut alayhi salam. Other people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, had the earth to swallow them, like a giant sinkhole that took everything. This is all possible. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as a believer, remind yourself, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the irresistible. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who has the whole power. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's watching everything. Nothing that can happen in this universe but by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is for you and for all of us to review our iman, to review our relation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because those who doubt about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is being absent in all what's happening today is like having an impediment in their iman, in their faith, in their system of faith, and they may not be already, subhanallah, came to a state of non-belief. Because if you be heedless about such an important thing which define your own iman, which define your own faith, to say, where is Allah? They said, where are you from Allah? You are totally absent. You are, subhanallah, moved in totally different way on path than the path of the iman. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala قال وَلَوْ يَشَاءُ اللَّهُ لَانْتَصَرَ مِنْهُ. If Allah had Allah willed, He will have, erased them. He will have punished them. He will have inflicted on them punishment like He did for Fir'aun, Hud, the people of Hud, Ad, Thamud, أَلَمْ تَرَ كَيْفَ فَعَلَ رَبُّكَ بِعَادٍ إِرَمَ ذَاتِ الْعِمَادِ. And continued, have you not seen what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had done to the people of Ad? وَثَمُودَ الَّذِينَ جَابُوا الصَّخْرَ بِالْوَادِ. Those Thamud who has carving homes into stones and into mountains. And the tyrant Fir'aun, have you not seen that? So how the believer, they will have subhanallah doubt, or not it's not the problem, is not doubt, it's being heedless. That is like subhanallah, seeing the news, looking at the news, reading the news. It's like this is what it becomes like hunting and just taking over our mind and our heart to the point it's like God does not exist. And that's the problem, because when people say, if you truly believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you believe in Allah in every aspect in your life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intervene in every aspect in your life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the all-wise, the all-hearing, the all-seeing, the all-powerful, Allah the most merciful, and He is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That Allah make us to know Him through His excellent names subhanahu wa ta'ala, Asma'ullah al-Husna, and His attributes. Therefore, the believer, when we're thinking about that, he said, لِيَبْلُوَهُمْ. So the test, come and just reflect on such of ibtila, of the trial. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to test the believer. To the point, because when you do not come to a trial, when you don't face a crucial, hard, bitter trial, you will not be able to know what the meaning of patience, what the meaning of perseverance, what the meaning to see death in front of your eyes. The young companion who didn't join the Prophet ﷺ in the battle of Badr, they were so overwhelmed and excited. They said, Ya Rasulullah, the next time we're going to be with you. And we're going to fight, and we're going to do this, and we're going to show to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala how dedicated and devoted we are. But when they came to the battlefield and they saw what's happening? Everything changed. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, قال وَلَقَدْ كُنْتُمْ تَمَنَّوْنَ الْمَوْتَ فَقَدْ رَأَيْتُمُوهُ وَأَنْتُمْ تَنظُرُونَ. And you were meaning like تَمَنَّوْنَ, you are wishing death. But now at the battlefield, when you saw it, it's totally different thing. It's so scary. And we are talking about such a thing, subhanAllah. We cannot match ourselves with the people who are truthful and fighting for the sake of the truth in Gaza. But this is just for us to understand from the meaning of the Quran how we should behave, how we should set our heart on what path. So لِيَبْتَلِيهُمْ to the point that the truth, the love of the truth, the love of Allah, the truth, the love of the cause for the truth becomes like the most important thing into your heart, the most important thing into your life, which is mean like you'll be able to give everything for the truth. For the establishment of the justice, you have the ability, the love to do everything. Therefore, it comes a point that you cannot live without the truth. You cannot breathe without the truth. Because if you do not stand for the truth, you are a person who do not exist. You are a person who are already dead. That's the trial what helps us. Because this is the trial for whole humankind. Because everyone is watching. This is subhanAllah on their TV or on the channels or on the stream or the internet. Everyone is seeing this massacre and genocide. Where is your heart? And then when you think about it, he said, subhanAllah, this is a sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to differentiate, to separate between the evil and the good. To separate between the iman and the evil and the corruption and the misleading and the dhalal. And this is subhanAllah what the believer they have to stand for, to think about. Because Allah had the power to have everything done in the blink of an eye. This is what we need to believe. And that's when you raise your heart to remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with you, is watching you. That is the most important thing today. It's not like subhanAllah is heedless. قَالَ لَا تَحْسَبَنَّ اللَّهَ غَافِلًا عَمَّا يَعْمَلُ الظَّالِمُونَ. Do not think, or like subhanAllah, have compute in your mind that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is unaware of the thing that's happening. Allah is watching. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is seeing. But this is for you, to test you. How much do you love the truth? You see such a thing, horrible, heinous things, how your heart is reacting. This is a test for us. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala وَيُرَبِّيهِمْ, to educate them, to form them, to the point that they cleanse them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us a lot of good things. Everything that is halal, that is tayyib, you can use it. But how much you are attached to it. This ibtila, the test help you to differentiate between something that you can enjoy and something that you die for. Then when a caller for the establishment to stand for the truth, call you, you have to rush for it, not to be clinging heavily to the earth. Why? Because it's beautiful, it looks good, it's cozy. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blamed the believer. He reproached the believer in Surah At-Tawbah. قَالَ مَا لَكُمْ إِذَا قِيلَ لَكُمْ Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala انفروا في سبيل الله ثاقلتم إلى الأرض. What happened? What is the matter with you when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanding you to march for His sake, for His cause? You've been clinging heavily to the earth. So dear brother, respected sister, this is a test for every one of us, not for all the people of Gaza. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give them, pour on them patience and help them. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them the thabat. Wallahi, a believer needs to be confident because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with them. Confident. It's a really very dire situation. But confidence is about you now. Is about you. Is about you. قَالَ وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ وَيُطَهِّرُهُمْ. And then subhanAllah, in facing such dire situation and facing in the battlefield the death, it really restructure, regenerate, reproduce the heart and the soul. Which is means subhanAllah, at this level, no one will be at a level of truthfulness, at the level of piety, at the level of devotion like someone who's in that situation. Which helps you to understand that the Prophet ﷺ said, the group that are going to be in my ummah, striving for the sake of Allah, standing for the truth, nothing will harm them, except they go through hardship, as we see. Because those people who have the most truthful heart because of the condition. We're not going to say, no, someone has more iman. I mean, many people, they wish to be there or go to hell. You might be going to hell there, you will not even stand it 1 second and you want to run away. Because as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said for this companion, young one, when they saw death, it's totally different. For this reason, the Prophet ﷺ said, the martyr Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will spare him from the trial of the grave. They said, Ya Rasulullah, he will be spared. He said, of course, he will be. After being tried to see death under the shadow of the swords, death is at any moment. And that's scary. That's very scary. Therefore, لِيَبْلُوَ بَعْضَكُمْ بِبَعْضٍ, to test you, to trial you through the means of other, to see how strong you are, to cleanse you, to elevate you, and to help you to be able and candidate for the great reward of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why when we think of this dunya, dear brother, respected sister, is very short. And is only what is the vocation of the dunya. What is the definition of this worldly life? It's test. It's not to live a paradise here. Only the people who do not believe in Allah is their paradise on this earth. The believer, this is a test. قَالَ الَّذِي خَلَقَ الْمَوْتَ وَالْحَيَاةَ لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ, the one who created death and life. Ask yourself why he started with death and then life. Because death is the beginning and life is the end. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from death, He derives subhanahu wa ta'ala, khalaqa, akhraja, He came from death, He get out the life. Look in Surah Ghafir, قالوا ربنا أمتنا اثنتين وأحييتنا اثنتين. Oh Allah, you have caused us to die 2 times and to live 2 times. The first time in this life, according to this ayah, and the second time is the true life. So imagine Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created you to live forever. And this is remind yourself. This is we say almost every time, to remind ourselves, to call it to mind, so it helps us. It helps us to get it into our system. Therefore, our planning, our decision, our thinking will be reshaped by this aqidah that we see it every day. You read it every day in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling you in Surah Al-Fatiha, Maliki Yawmuddin. What it means, Maliki Yawmuddin? The king and the owner of the day of the judgment, which means you're going to be there in the day of judgment, standing before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When is going to happen? After your death. So death is a passage, is a vessel, is a transit, is a bridge. The most important, dear brother, respected sister, in situation is your yaqeen in Allah. How much you have trust in Allah. How much you have certainty that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is around you, is with you, is watching. Because if you do not have this yaqeen, we're going to fall into the prison of the humiliation. The prison of asking people to help you or seeking some help elsewhere. And if you do that, then you're going to cause the wrath and the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to befall on you. And if you like that, therefore nothing will help you. No money will help you, no family will help you, no homes or whatever, subhanAllah, business will help you. The billions of dollars, if you will have the whole capacity of earth in gold, it will not help you. Why? Because you made yourself to be humiliated by kneeling for other system to help you. Maybe you find solace or you find felicity in such a thing. That is the batil, that is the wrongdoing, that is, wal-iyadu billah, the evil, the mere evil. That's why in this situation, the people who are saying, for example, where is God, why Allah does not intervene, say you have to watch what you're saying. What you said is a sign that you don't have iman, you don't have faith, you don't even believe that Allah exists. It's like Allah exists in the book, Allah exists in some mysterious way, like other faiths they say. There is no mysterious way. Allah acts with knowledge, Allah acts with wisdom, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a power over all things. Nothing can move or change in His whole universe, in His whole cosmos, but by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will. But by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will. And the certainty that we need to regain in our heart, not certainty, I'm not talking about the certainty that is going to take you to the level of the ihsan, to have a long prayer in devotion and talking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not that certainty. We're talking about certainty that you are certain that Allah is watching, that Allah has in His hand everything, under His control, everything. Nothing escapes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the certainty. Which is mean all what you're saying is happening by the permission of Allah. By Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala seeing. فَلَا تَحْسَبَنَ اللَّهُ سُبْحَانَهُ وَتَعَالَى وَقَدْ مَكَرُوا مَكْرَهُمْ وَإِنْ كَانَ مَكْرُهُمْ لِتَزُولَ مِنْهُ الْجِبَالِ. They have plotted a mighty plot. To the point that their plot, subhanAllah, is almost, a plot that it might move mountains. To show you, subhanAllah, how big is this planning, this cunning, this dhulm, this transgression that these people they do. وَعِنْدَ اللَّهِ مَكْرُهُمْ. But all their makr is by, subhanAllah, the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَلَا تَحْسِبَنَّ. Do not think Never think that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to fail the promise of His Prophet. He told you the promise of Allah, the true, is going to happen with no doubt. Not in my life, not in your life. That's not the point. But it's going to happen. Why? Because it's the promise of Allah. That's the certainty that we have to know. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us the Ibrahim alayhi salam. Inna Ibrahim kana ummatan qanitan lillahi hanifan wa lam yakun min al-mushrikeen. Ibrahim, he was like a nation. He was a comprehensive leader. He was an excellent model. He has full devotion to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلَمْ يَكُنْ مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ. He didn't associate anyone, only going back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why people today, when they're trying to find other ways, but did you check first with Allah? Did you read the Quran? Did you read the guidance of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how you need to behave? How you need to conduct yourself in such situation? Because the most important, look at your heart, it's really vibrating, have doubt and confused, then you might be from the evil ones. Ibrahim alayhi salam كان أمة قانتا لله حنيفا ولم يكن من المشركين. A whole nation against Ibrahim. A whole nation. As a matter of fact, some of the narration is Sarah, his wife, and Lut, they accepted Iman after or before. But in reality, he was young at the time. He was the only believer in whole his society. The whole nation, subhanAllah, standing against one young man. One young man. And then when they came to throw him in the fire, it increases the iman of Ibrahim. That's the yaqeen. The more you're seeing things getting difficult, it should increase our iman, because we know with no doubt Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to send His help. When it's not your issue. The issue is with your heart, how you deal with it. That's how you need to talk and have this inner conversation to yourself to boost your iman, to be on the path that you will be honored afterward, not on a path that you're going to be in the place of being disgraced. When they throw him in the fire, قال حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل. He didn't say, even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Jibreel alayhi salam, all of you know the story, but to remind ourselves, he asked the permission from Allah to go help Ibrahim. And Ibrahim, he said, from you I don't need it. Jibreel alayhi salam, who subhanAllah destroyed the whole town of the people of Lut with the one edge of his wing. And he didn't want to tell you, dear brother, respected sister, the greatness of Allah, but how important is your heart in this situation to, subhanAllah, conduct it, manage it, and to check it, because it's very crucial in our life, as you're going to hear. And Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he came out walking safe from the fire, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala قال كوني بردا وسلاما على إبراهيم, be cool and peace on Ibrahim. That's when he realized, subhanahu wa ta'ala, subhanallah, he realized the greatness of the God of Ibrahim. قال نعم الرب ربك يا إبراهيم. What a great God you have. What a great God you have, that He taking care of one servant against a whole nation. This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is Allah. Dear brother, respected sister, this ibtila is not an ibtila that goes only for the believers, for everyone, believer, non-believer, only say believer, those who are there to the faith of Islam, but anybody else, every human being. The first one, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling us that in Surah Al-Anfal, how He separate the good person or the good and from the evil. And this separation happened, He said, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا يُنْفِقُونَ أَمْوَالَهُمْ لِيَصُدُّوا عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. The disbeliever, the ungrateful, they're spending their money. They spend it to avert from the way of Allah, to put obstacle for the way of Allah, to divert. And you see them, subhanAllah, all with this news, how they crafting, how they changing, how they twisting things. لِيَصُدُّوا عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. Look, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He told you. You see it. It's scary. It's scary. You say, if there is anyone who can listen the word of truth, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will have the truth to, subhanAllah, knock the ear of every human being on this planet Earth. And you see it today. إن الذين كفروا ينفقون أموالهم ليصدوا عن سبيل الله فسينفقون, they're going to spend it. ثم تكون عليهم حسرة, then they're going to regret it. Why? Because it's not going to fulfill their objective. ثم سبحان الله قال سبحانه ثم الذين كفروا يغلبون, then they're going to be defeated. Then it's not going to stop here, because this is the disgrace in this dunya. This disgrace in this dunya. ثم إلى جهنم يحشرون, then to hellfire they're going to be cast in. That's how the believer, you do not limit your thinking or your projection in this limit time of the dunya. It need to project to the end of time. to lead to the post-eternity with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala قال وَلَا يَحْسُنْكَ الَّذِينَ يُسَارِعُونَ فِي الْكُفْرِ. Do not make those people who are racing to ungratefulness and to doing evil to make you feel bad. Indeed, they cannot harm Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At least they cannot do such a thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the great. Can you imagine, dear brother, respected sister, the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the greatest creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Al-Arsh al-Majid. Al-Arsh al-Majid compared to the whole cosmos, all cosmos that we only know infinite part of this cosmos, which is the lowest heaven, and above the lowest heaven, that you're talking about the million years of this constellation, is still in the lowest heaven, and above it 6 firmament. All this cosmos, compared to Al-Arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like a ring thrown in a plain desert. What, subhanallah, this armament or anything can do against Allah? However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, look what He said. قَالَ يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ أَلَّا يَجْعَلَ لَهُمْ حَظًّا فِي الْآخِرَةِ. This is the big thing. Allah will for them to not have any opportunity of mercy in the Day of Judgment. They've been going down, subhanallah, evil. And what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala قال لِيَمِيزَ الْخَبِيثَ. So Allah separate the good from the evil. And then He make the evil, pile them, and cast them in hellfire. You know why, dear brother, respected sister, we have to understand the evil should not exist in this universe. What is the origin of the evil? The origin of the evil, the hearts who are evil. The heart filled with corruption, with hypocrisy, with the love of the dunya. Those who produce the evil. It's the heart with the engine of the action, with action turned into transgression and injustice and killing, just for the sake of their own, subhanallah, interest. So the evil should not, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to neutralize the evil, the neutralization of the evil by being piled all the evil and be thrown in hellfire. However, the believer, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests them. When He tests them, it comes, subhanallah, to see who is the true pure one. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make this distinction, this separation, that it happened in Ghazwat Badr. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, because we have to understand, it's not the power of the physical, subhanallah, load or the physical metal that you have. It's not the armament or the power or whatever you have is going to help you to win. No. It's the power of your heart. It's the power of your heart. The power of your iman in your heart. The Prophet ﷺ in Ghazwat Badr, there were only 312 maybe. 300. And the Prophet ﷺ in their meeting with them, consulting them, he was seeking to unite the hearts. He was not seeking to see who's the strongest among them. Who's the one who has like the more weapon? No, they didn't. In the whole army they have 2 horses. 2 horses in the whole army. 2 horses only. And maybe 70 camel. The people of Quraysh, who were 1,000, they have, subhanallah, they slaughter maybe 2 to 5, subhanallah, if you're not mistaken, from the ghanam, from the camel every day. Look how much camel they have, and every night he has a horse. The Prophet ﷺ, when he was concerned about the Ansar, will the Ansar join him in a situation that they didn't give him the pledge to help him outside of Medina? At the Ansar, they said, yes, Ya Rasulullah, we are with you. He said, Sir wa abshiru, walk and go. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me the good news of the victory. It's the heart. Just bring your heart. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will extract from this ummah people who are sabirun, perseverant, patient. People who are sadiqun, truthful. People who are devoted. These people, you only can find them when they meet the highest level of trial, when they can see death, which they are. As the Prophet ﷺ, they said, by the vicinity of Al-Baytul Maqdis. They are the people in Gaza. This hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. And you explain it from the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Explain it from the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is a sunnah, is the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a trial. So He will only, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because who will be worthy of the help of Allah? Only as-sadiqu, an-naqiyyu, as-sabiru, the truthful, the pure one, and the one that he is, subhanallah, patient. This is what the case of the companion in Badr. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called it Yawm al-Furqan, the day of the criterion. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows us a new element in this universe. It's not the power that vanquishes, it's the iman, it's the faith. That's the one who had the power. For this reason, Allah told us about the story of David. When Talut, he came and he was the king. And subhanAllah, when he was marching, he came to a point. He said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is testing you with the river. Whoever drink from this river, he's not one of me. Whoever will not drink it except like scoop or sip, he will follow with me. Can you imagine? Can you imagine someone is going to face the biggest tyrant in their time with Jalut, Goliath and his soldiers and not be able even to drink? This is a very bitter and harsh trial. So many people, they're going to justify it. Who drank from it? The hypocrite, the liar, the people who do not have iman, the people who want to justify, he's not a good king, he's not this does not make sense. Tayyib, it does not make sense, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will make it sense for you if you have true belief. Then when they passed the river, some of them, they said, it's impossible for us, according to our number, to face Jalut wa Junud. قال الذين يظنون أنهم ملاقو الله كم من فئة قليلة غلبت فئة كثيرة بإذن الله. Those who are certain that they're going to meet Allah. That's the yaqeen. That's the yaqeen. They said, how many small group have vanquished a mighty group, a bigger group, a larger group with Allah's will. This is in your Quran. This is in Surah Al-Baqarah. This is what Allah teaching us. Most of the ummah are heedless, subhanAllah, confused and doubtful. Well, they don't go back to read the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, dear brother, respected sister, here the tamyiz is a process of subhanAllah separating, and you are standing today. And it is your choice to put your heart among the pure ones or to let your heart falling down into the khabith wal iyadu billah. It's up to you. Because watching such a thing that's happening, if a heart will not move, you do not have a heart. You are already dead. Dead. And just ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as Imam Al-Ghazali said, you have to really cry and weeping because of your heart is dead. Not because when you read the Quran make us cry. No, because when you read the Quran, we don't have anything that moves inside. We're not learning anything. Then go and weep and cry because your heart does not move when you read the Quran. This is what Al-Imam rahmatullahi alayhi ta'ala said. The other aspect, dear brother, respected sister, as I said, it's not a trial for only the Muslim. It's another trial for the whole humankind, because in this test, people are losing their dignity and their humanity. As a being, subhanAllah, human being, we are losing that. I mean, kids are being killed, and yet, subhanAllah, people are still negotiating and trying to think for a solution. For this reason, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, one of the purposes of the book, قَالَ لِيُبَيِّنَ الَّذِي اخْتَلَفُوا فِيهِ. For Allah, for the Prophet to clarify for them what they have been, اختلفوا فيه, differentiating it. قال وليعلم الذين كفروا أنهم كانوا كاذبين. And for the ungrateful to know that they are liars. All this story, subhanAllah, all this thing about human rights is a big lie. It's a lie. ليعلم, so you can see, you make a system and you're promoting a system and you make believe people, you teach people this is human right, we respect them, we fight for them, we stand for justice. No, you're standing for oppression. You're standing and you're helping and contributing in genocide. Where is the human right? It's a big lie. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala qala liyubayyin, to have you clear, to see it. We're talking like democracy, to bring it to society, to bring them, flourish them, and prosperity. It's a big lie. It's a big lie. It's a facade for people to serve their interests. Serving the system for them to have their interests to be served. This is very clear. So it is a test for the whole humanity. Is it the test for the whole humanity? And the believer, you have to stand and you're saying, subhanAllah, because many people, they still believe in that. They believe in the system, that the system can help you. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is showing you today, with the proof, with the evidence, that this is a big lie. It's a lie that has been crafted for the interests of certain people without getting in further comment to be, subhanAllah, served. Do not be a believer. And the Prophet ﷺ said, smart, with the common sense, and purify your heart to not be disgraced. Because when it comes the calm, subhanAllah, of the time, and you find yourself from the other side, in the prison of those who humiliated themselves, in the prison of those who caused the wrath to be befalling on them. Why? Because you didn't try to have yaqeen of Allah and be, subhanallah, certain that Allah is over all things and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to bring His help with no doubt. It might not be gonna be in your life, but just have it in your heart. That's how you save yourself to be honored. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروا الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله وكفى والصلاة والسلام على النبي المصطفى أما بعد. It is a big trial for everyone, and especially for us who are far from what is happening there. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help them, give them, pour on them patience and perseverance, and give them the thabat, give them the firmness. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's Al-Aziz, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's Al-Hakim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's the loving kind. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is treating those great people with His care subhanahu wa ta'ala. But now look at yourself and look at your heart. Where your heart is directed, it is directed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it might be, subhanallah, this is one of the biggest signs of the Day of Judgment. People always, they want to talk about that. But it might be happening. And when I say yaqeen, dear brother, respected sister, that you have yaqeen that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to fulfill His plan. Not be doubtful. That you have yaqeen that you make dua with certainty, with tears. You really feel it. And you feel about your brother and your sister. You feel it. This is, subhanAllah, what will honor you. This is the ibtila. This is the ibtila. No, remind yourself that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if He willed, He will have finished everything from the beginning. But this is for us to elevate yourself, to purify yourself, to cleanse yourself. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a situation, He will, Allah, حتى إذا استيأس الرسل, when they came, subhanAllah, the messenger, they came to point to istiyas, like almost given up hope, not in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help, but it comes a time, He said, maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will for us that you're not going to be helped. We surrender to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. قال حتى إذا استيأس الرسل, when they come, أتاهم نصرنا, Allah will bring then His help. To show you how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests us to get all the treasure, all the most beautiful thing of patience, of endurance, of love, of increasing of your iman, to test you, to shake you. Because by shaking you, He's taking all, subhanAllah, that impediment, that impurity, that, subhanAllah, filthy thing to go down, to be like taken away, and you will remain the gold in you, the value of the purity. That's what the test is for. أتاهم نصرنا. So the nasr will come with no doubt. But the help, dear brother, respected sisters, does not mean a triumph on this earth. Because the people of the ditch of Al-Hudud that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described in Al-Buruj, all of them, they died. They had been burned. And the king and his soldiers, they were watching. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran. However, there's only one lady. All of them, they jumped. Why? Because they believed in the young boy that he's saying the truth. And they knew that only the king could have killed the boy only by the trick or the, subhanAllah, the definition or the secret that he told him. He said, say in the name of the God of the boy. That's how he could kill him, because he tried all the way to kill him and the whole society are watching. And he only came to kill the boy only by the name of Allah. Then the whole society, they said, Nashhadu, we believe in the God of the boy. He said, then I'm going to burn you all. He burned them all. There's only one lady, dear brother, respected sister, who could not jump in the fire. She has a baby. She has yaqeen, but her rahmah, her mercy on the baby, subhanAllah, prevails. She cannot do it. She cannot do it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help this lady make this baby to speak. Qalalha, He said, be firm, mother, you are on the path of the truth. And she jumped. And the fire, dear brother, it was just a curtain between the fire and the bliss that they're going to see. Because at just they move, subhanAllah, they go across the fire, they're going to be alive in the company of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the greatest of the trial. That's why it's a big trial for, it never happened before. This situation for the whole humankind to watch such a thing. One last thing, dear brother, respected sister. There is a sign, a big sign is going to happen, which is the coming up of the sun from the west. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Surah Al-Amaan, قَالَ يَوْمِ يَأْتِ بَعْضُ آيَاتِ رَبِّكَ, when it comes one of the signs of the day of judgment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, at that time, قَالَ لَا يَنْفَعُ نَفْسًا إِيمَانُهَا, no soul will benefit them, their belief after that sign will appear. You might come tomorrow, we don't know. It's going to happen, maybe not in our life, but you wake up one day, there is no sun. Where the sun? There is no sun. You realize then, that's the day of judgment. And when you wake up other day, you didn't have certainty in Allah. You were still confused. You were saying, why Allah is doing this? Where is Allah? And you were like arguing, and subhanAllah, not being respectful with your Lord. Not even believing. And you want to rush to believe. It's too late. The tawbah will not be accepted anymore. Therefore, subhanAllah, if you see projection, Allah's mercy is making this tamyiz, this distinction, this separation between the good and evil, between the faithful, between the one who has faith and the one who does not have, which is mean like in the whole world. Then you be careful, because it might happen at time soon when it's going to be too late. Therefore, dear brother, respected sister, let's honor ourselves and rush and race for building the yaqeen in our heart and be more submissive to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَيَا Allah, instill yaqeen in our heart and purify our heart and cleanse our soul and make us among your servants. They will be the candidate of your mercy. اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا أجمعين. اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا أجمعين. اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا أجمعين. اللهم اقذف في قلوبنا رجاءك واقطع رجاءنا عمن سواك حتى لا نرجو أحدا غيرك. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين وأقم الصلاة يرحمكم الله.